All right, last 5 questions. Number 21. You found the recipe for lasagna, and it says you need 130 grams of cheese for 4 people. Lasagna sounds really good. If you are preparing this for 13 people, then you need more. Okay, and you can sort of estimate the answer, right? This is like, okay, so this is 3 times, a little more than 3 times. So you'll probably need 3 times 130, which is like close to 400 grams. You can guess the answer should be about 400 grams, and that may be good enough. After all, lasagna is an Italian meal. You know, you just kind of just approximate everything. I mean, why be so precise? In fact, it may taste better that way. But if you have to find the precise answer, because you are taking a math test, how much cheese do you need? This is the proportion you would get. You can call this X or whatever. All right, so you cross multiply, right? So it's 4x is equal to 13 times 130. That's one way to do that. And that, by the way, it's 1690, and you can divide both sides by 4, and you get 422.5 grams, and this is the answer to your question. Okay. Or there's another way of doing this. You see this left-hand side, 130 divided by 4, that's 32.5. And if you do that, what you're calculating is, you're wondering how many grams per person. All right, so it turns out for each person, you need about 32.5 grams of cheese. And you can just multiply this by 13, and 32.5 times 13, and you get exactly the same answer, to 422.5. So that's okay too. That's okay too. Number 22, the area of the state of Texas is 268,600 square miles. It's a big state. It's the biggest continental state, which is about 7.5 trillion square feet. Okay, if the area is even, we'll see. So this is equal to 70. Well, okay, so it's 7.5 trillion square feet. But the problem kindly gives us that it is the same as 7,500 billion. Remember, because 1,000 billion is 1 trillion. So this is about 7,500 times a billion square miles. All right, if this area is evenly divided or split among every person living in the world, how many square feet would everybody get? So the question is, if you take the entire world and put them all into the state of Texas and give everybody and the evenly distributed area, then how much space does everybody get? Assume that the world population is 7.8 billion people. So really, that's what you're doing, right? Because you're trying to find the square feet per person. Okay, so if you want to include the units, it's square feet per person. And on the top and on the bottom, you have a billion. So you can cancel the billions. And the answer really is going to be 7,500 divided by 7.8. And the answer is 961.5. And it's going to be a square foot per person. And so the units are correct. And that is the right answer. You can stop and think about this. The whole world can be squeezed into the state of Texas, and each person can still have like 1,000 square foot. Of course, most of Texas is uninhabitable, so this doesn't make sense, but this tells you how big the state of Texas really is. Number 23, a cheeseburger costs $3.49, while a hamburger costs $2.99. Hamburger is cheaper than the cheeseburger, of course, by what percent? Okay, now notice here what the reference number, the base number is. The question is saying the hamburger is cheaper by than the cheeseburger, right? So the cheeseburger price must be the reference, the base. Did you get that? Because the hamburger is being compared to the cheeseburger. So first, let's find the absolute difference. And of course, that's clearly 50 cents, right? 3.49 is 50 cents more than $2.99. So this is called the absolute difference. You don't have to know that. I mean, you don't have to write this to answer this question. But the answer is 50 cents must be divided by 3.49 because we are trying to say the hamburger is cheaper than the cheeseburger by such and such percent. So for this number 23, if you divide 0.5 by 3.49, you will get the answer, which is 0.143266, blah, blah, blah. And so you can say about 14.3% cheaper. This number will be different if you say the cheeseburger is more expensive than the hamburger by what percent? Okay, 2 more questions. Number 24, a pizza shop has 14-inch small pizza. You notice here I draw pictures, okay? And it's important, I think, because pictures will sort of help you visualize and understand the problem. 18-inch medium pizzas are available too. The medium pizza is larger than the small pizza, obviously. By what percent? Okay, so here's the difference. Find the relative difference. All right, now the ratio of 18 and 14, okay, that would be the ratio of the diameter. But remember, oh yeah, we assume, by the way, the 2 pizzas have the same thickness. All right, what we have to do is to compare the area, right? Because pizza is, I mean, after all, we are comparing the 2-dimensional objects, circles. So you have to square this. No, not square, right? Because what? This is the ratio, but you, well, you don't square that, do you? Yeah, you do square that, right? If it's a solid like the balls, spheres or something, then you cube it, okay? And this really is called a dimension, right? Because we're talking about 2-dimensional objects like the circle, and that's your pizza. So you take 18 and divide it by 14, and that's 1. So here, let me go ahead and write this down, 1.2852, and you have to square that, and that's going to give you 1.653 on your calculator. And this tells you that the medium pizza is 65.3% larger in area than the small pizza, even though the diameter is only 28.57% bigger. Okay, so make sure you know how to calculate this. You square the ratio in order to find the ratio of the area. You cube it if this was a solid, something that is like a ball or a cube, and you were trying to find the difference in the volume. The relative difference in volume would be found when you cube the ratio. Number 25, suppose that Bitcoin lost 20% of its value in a given week. That could easily happen, but bounced back by 20% the following week. Did it bounce back to the original value? And the answer is not. Let's start with $100. Bitcoin's actually worth tens of thousands of dollars, okay? But let's say you start with $100, 20% loss is going to make this $80, okay? And then bounced back by 20% jump, upward. But what is a 20%? What is 20% of $80? Okay, well, that's 16. So you add $16 to $80, and the answer comes out to be 96. Compared to what you started with, it's a loss of 4%. Even though it went down by 20% and came back by 20%, okay? Because you can't just add or subtract percentages. These 2 percentages, 20% down and 20% up, have different base numbers. And therefore, the answer is not that it came back to the original value, but the value lost. The loss of the value turns out to be 4%. Okay, so that is practice test number 1. I hope you do well on this test coming up, test number 1.